Hello viewers, in the new lecture of C Sharp. In this lecture, we are going to learn some more topics of object-oriented programming. So in this lecture, we will be learning about access specifier. So first of all, what are access specifiers? Access specifiers in C Sharp are keywords that specify the accessibility or scope of type classes and their member fields and methods. You can see here, like in the last video we did public integer id. So why do we used public, and without writing public, why can't we use them in our method? Yes, this is why all members are private by default until we make them public. There are four types of access specifier: public, private, protected, and internal. You can see here, if your member is public, you can use it anywhere in your project. And if your member is private, you can use that member only within your class. And third is protected. We will learn protected and internal later in this lecture. First, we will learn about public and private. So here is a code example of public and private access specifier. You can see here, the public access specifier provides the widest accessibility. It means that if your member is public, you can use that member anywhere in your application. But if it is private, you can use that member only within the class. You can see here common uses, pu- public interfaces and contracts. We will also learn about interfaces library in other lecture of C Sharp. You can see here a code example which is of public class car, and there is a method in this class drive, and it is a void method. We learnt about void method and return type method in our last lecture. And here is an example of private access specifier. You can see here we have a public class car, and we have two members which are private string model and private integer engine size. And this is how we create private and public members. Now let's take a code example of this. We will do a practical. Let's create a project, console application. You can see the project is created. Now we will create a class student. We will have two variables, integer id and string, semicolon, and string name, as should be small. And now we have to define public, or wait, let's remove this. And now we'll create an object of this class. You can see we can't see those members here because by default these members are private. Now if you write public and now control plus space, you can see id here, but you can't see name because name is still not public. Let's assign some value and make this member public. Student. And this is how the public access specifier works. Now you can write this value as you want, student dot control D student dot name and console dot readline. Now if you execute this application, You can see the result. Now, how do we use private members? Public static void. And now we will create a method. Public void and name of method get id. These braces. And yes, in this method we'll pass a parameter integer id, and id is equal to id, and we'll create one method public void get id, get name string name, and name is equal to name. And now we will call this method student dot get id, control D, and student dot get name. We have to pass the values here. Let's suppose the id is 9 and name is, and let's start this. Oh wait, we have not done anything yet. So console.writeLine, it will write id, and it will write capital. And now if you execute this, you can see the result here. Let's refine this code. Plus and empty string, the id of student is plus. Let's copy this and paste it here. The name and yes, now let's execute this. You can see the id of student is 9 and name of student is. Now we will learn about, let's comment this code first. We'll learn about now protected and internal access specifier. You can see here the code example of protected and internal access specifier. So first you can see here of protected. Here is a class vehicle and a method protected start engine. And you need to know one thing. That if you have a protected member, you cannot use that member anywhere in your project except the child class. We learnt about inheritance in our last video, and we know that what is a parent class and a child class. Parent class is the class where you define the method variables once, and when you inherit those method in another class, that class is child class. So you can only access those member in the child class. And that's all for the protected. And internal is a very easy access specifier. Like if you have an internal member, you can use that member anywhere in the assembly. I will tell you what is assembly, but now let's do a code example of this. Let's remove this code. Now we will make two classes, class student by student, and create two method here, public void get id and public void get remove this. Now we will pass two parameters, integer id and string name, and id Wait, let's make it small. You can see we are using this ID. If you click on this, you can see this is hover automatically. It means that the compiler know we are using this ID. And yes, that's how the protected work. ID is equal to ID and name. You can see whenever we write the name, it automatically shows us that we are using this name and is equal to name. Now let's make an object of employee class. Employee equals to new employee. And now you have to tell me one thing, that will this code print something? You can see the code here. Yes, you are right. It will not print anything because we are only assigning the value to the variables. We are not printing anything. To print the values, console.writeLine ID and here console.writeLine name. Now let's call the method employee.control-D ID is 10 and name is Priti. Now let's start our application. You can see the result here. And now the last access specifier was internal. Let's remove this code and let's remove this whole class because we are done with protected. Also this, we will create an internal variable, internal integer ID and internal string name. And you can see when we'll create an object of the class, wait, we have already created student dot name, wait, student dot ID and student dot name. Let's assign some values. Ashmit and semicolon at end. And now you also have a shortcut to start your application, which is with F5. You can see it is, wait, sorry, console.readline and this is how the internal method works. Thanks for watching. In next lecture we are starting a new concept, ASP.NET and MVC. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. And if you have any doubt, you can ask that in comment.